Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is Zach with Zach Attack Cards, bringing you another exciting edition of ZAKdown. This one is post Royal Rumble 2023, and we will be discussing that in this video, as well as opening up this hobby box of 2021 Topps Women's Division trading cards, which I thought was relatively on point for the fact that Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Monet, I guess is her name in New Japan and perhaps wherever else she works. So she's right on the cover. I figured let's go ahead and open this up. And Bianca Belair, obviously one of the top women in the WWE itself. So just a little bit of a warning before we get started here. This will definitely be spoiler filled, because for the first time we're going to do a little bit of a review of the pay-per-view, or the PLE as they're calling them now, as we open this box of trading cards. I thought that it would be a nice little mix of what we normally do on the channel, as well as the current product and the current happenings within the WWE. So once again, spoiler alert, if you have not watched the Rumble and you intend to do so, I will give you until I get the little guys set up here, little Kof and little Xavier. And then we will go right into those juicy spoilers and reviews of Royal Rumble 23. All right, so let's get down to business. For those that have stuck around, I assume you have seen the pay-per-view or have at least seen the highlights or maybe read recaps, and you want to dig in and discuss it. So I definitely welcome all comments and such in the comments section down below. Let me know what you thought of the Rumble. I will be basing the match ratings on a title system, very similar to the star system or whatever that anybody else comes up with when it comes to reviewing the product and such. But essentially, I'll go through my little kind of legend that I kind of came up with to let you know what it is that each rating kind of stands for. So it's a simple rating system of 1 to 5 titles, no halves or 3/4 or anything like that. It's just going to be straight up one title, 2 title, 3 title, 4 title, or 5 title rating for the matches. So 1 title is going to represent a match that's skippable. Really wasn't the superstar's best work. And then we move along to a 2, which I have as average. A 2 title rating is basically check out this match if there's no other wrestling available for you to watch, if you're all caught up on AEW, New Japan, anything else that you might watch. 3 titles is the above average rating, and in this case I recommend playing it in the background, maybe while you're ripping some packs like this, or maybe sorting some sets, what have you. The 4 title rating is near perfect, and you're going to want to watch this match. Definitely watch the entirety of the match, basically as soon as you get time. And the elusive 5 title rating is perfection. You should watch the entire match, the entrances, the post-match, all that kind of stuff. This is everything that goes into a must-see matchup. I don't anticipate a ton of matches getting that rating, but let's get into it and see what exactly got what. So before we do that, the women's division cards. So this is a hobby box. I have never opened hobby style or hobby release of this release. I've opened the women's division in the retail, the blaster boxes, which I will link up in the cards, and you can go and check that out. But this box guarantees 2 hits, so I'm pretty excited to see what they are. I believe one of the hits is guaranteed to be an auto, and then we'll have to see what the other is. So with that said, let's get right into the pay-per-view. So it started off pretty awesome. It started off with the return of Pat McAfee. Absolutely love that dude. That guy can do no wrong when it comes to announcing. He's like one of us, you know. He's a fan who's getting to announce his favorite, I don't want to say favorite sport, because that's probably football. But you get what I'm saying. He's just a fan who absolutely loves the entertainment side of the WWE. So he returned, and we had a three-man booth, which not always the best, but Cole Graves and McAfee definitely figured it out, and they ended up with a good night of announcing for sure. So the very first match up was the 30-man Rumble. I thought it was pretty interesting that the 30-man Rumble was the first matchup to come out. I don't believe, since they've been doing the two Rumbles, the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble, that the men's matches come first, though I could be wrong about that. I have to double check myself for sure. But as anticipated and basically expected by everybody, including Vegas, Cody Rhodes came out your winner in this one. This match was, I'm going to start off by saying that I gave it 3 titles. I think it is above average. I think that it's something that you should kind of play in the background and look up every so often, because there were some interesting spots. I mean, you had, the only real surprise that I had written down was Booker T's legend spot, if you want to call it that. But you also had the returns of Logan Paul and Edge, who had been off for quite some time. With Logan Paul, take it or leave it, but there was a real cool spot in the match where he collided with Ricochet. Mid-ring, they did a springboard and just collided. It was absolutely incredible. That I definitely recommend checking out, whether it's via YouTube highlight or actually checking out the match. That is certainly worth your time, because to my knowledge, it's not something that I've ever seen before. And it was really cool. The other thing to note, obviously, Kofi always has his moments in the match where he tries to save himself in a big grand gesture. And I don't think that went according to plan in this one. I think for the second straight year now that he's had an issue with it. I think he was supposed to land on a chair this time, I guess. But it just kind of looked like whether, Woods didn't get the chair over there in time, or whether it was just too hard to land on the darn thing. Kofi ended up on the ground, and they just ended up calling him out. So, again, not 100%. It might not have been a missed spot, but it certainly seemed that way. I don't know why you would bring the office chair over there if that's not what you were trying to do. So, essentially, the other thing that was the major news coming out of this is how well Gunther was portrayed, if you want to put it that way. He came in at number 1, and he lasted all the way until the end. It was him versus Cody for several minutes as the final 2. And Gunther, he squared off against so many guys in this one. And he broke the record for longevity in the match, which is pretty awesome. But I think the biggest takeaway is it looks like he's going to be a major player going forward, which is awesome, because I find him super entertaining. But that's pretty much it for the Men's Rumble. Cody winning was awesome. Even though it was predictable, I definitely enjoyed it. And like I said, I ended up giving this match 3 titles. Pop it on in the background, so put your sets together, all that kind of stuff. And definitely have a watch every so often, especially when the guys are jumping around and yelling. The announcers, I guess I should say. That leads into the Pitch Black match. So nobody knew what to expect from this. They really played it close to the vest and not telling you exactly what that match was going to be. And I'm not 100% sure what to think of it, even, a day or two later. It was really just a black light match with tons of neon lights and that kind of stuff. And then they had, a little glow-in-the-dark little balls or little, BBs. I don't know what they were. But they had those kind of explode every so often when they hit the table and stuff like that. But LA Knight, Bray Wyatt, it was a relatively short match. I don't even think it was 10 minutes long. It was different. I do recommend watching it, but that's not enough to get it all the way to a 4, because it was just too short. I give it 3 titles. And again, the major selling point of the match was still the story that they're telling with Uncle Howdy and all that. You had Bray kind of portray a brand new character in this matchup. He had some kind of glow in the dark face paint at first, and then he ended up with a with a brand new mask at the end, which was pretty awesome looking. I definitely recommend looking that up if you don't plan on watching the match. And, you know, then you had Uncle Howdy come out and do a huge stage dive off the, I don't know, there's a scaffold or something like that onto LA Knight. Definitely don't check out that that highlight, because WWE actually shot him being Uncle Howdy missing LA Knight. I mean, I guess you couldn't have him jump onto him from the height that he jumped on, but at the same time, like, they legitimately shot the fact that he missed. And it was something. But yeah, so LA Knight, definitely good showing in it. Obviously Wyatt was going to get the win here, though, so that's exactly what they went with, and I'm excited to see if this is over or what's going to happen next with the whole Howdy Wyatt Bliss thing. And that's what followed this match. So the next matchup was Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. It was, I only gave it 2 titles. One of my lower ones said it was, you know, relatively average. It just seemed like the two of them were out of sync. The match seemed kind of slow, but at the same time, it was enough to keep your interest, especially when they got to the end and it was mostly the post-match. They kept teasing more and more of the Wyatt or Howdy relationship with Alexa Bliss. So you guys know how much I love Bray Wyatt and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very curious to see where they're headed with this. Whether Alexa Bliss is going to go and, you know, be with Wyatt, or if she's just going to revert to maybe that character, or what exactly it is they're doing. So, match itself, you know, kind of whatever, but the story saved it, and that's really what WWE to me does so much better than anybody else, is really their storytelling, and it sets them apart. So after this match wrapped up, we had the 30-woman Royal Rumble. It acted as the penultimate match to the main event. And this one was a little bit more loaded, I would say, than the male Rumble. Although I did give this a 2-title rating as opposed to the 3-title rating. And that's because there still wasn't a ton of like memorable moments. I will say there was, you know, a lot of nostalgia pops and stuff. Again, perfect timing here. Nia Jax was one of the comeback people in it, along with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Niven had an excellent showing, no longer Dewdrop, but Chelsea Green was the fastest elimination ever, so that one left me a little bit speechless. I'm not sure if she's re-signed or it was a one-off, or definitely seems a bit strange for a one-off to just be kicked right out, but we shall see. That's a really cool card. It was good. You know, there were a lot of NXT people, Roxanne Perez and Zoe Stark, Indy Hartwell, all those people showed up. So that was kind of cool. It was interesting kind of seeing them getting a try on the main roster. I think Perez has a real bright future, for sure. Michelle McCool obviously was part of the match, even though she teased earlier in the week that she wouldn't be. And they kind of played into that with the fact that I think she wrestled in like Uggs or something like that, because they mentioned it a bunch of times. And she came out of the crowd as opposed to coming out of the back where everybody is. So it was, again, relatively good use of a legend, I suppose. And then you had probably the biggest pop of the match was Asuka's kind of return. And I say that because she debuted some brand new face paint and has brought her dark or evil kind of alternate ego, or alter ego, into the WWE. For those that followed her in Japan, you'll know that she had a darker, more aggressive side, and it was real cool to see that. The crowd popped big time, so it was very easy to tell that they knew this dark evil character. So very cool. But again, the match just didn't have a ton of memorable spots, so I stick with the 2 titles. It was really awesome to see Rhea Ripley come in at number 1 and win the darn thing. So now she's in that exclusive club of entering at number 1 and winning the whole darn thing. The first woman to do so. And it's very easy to see that they love her with everything that they're doing with the Judgment Day and everything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes to WrestleMania and wins a title, whoever the champions are at that time. I mean, obviously you have Charlotte now. They've had one heck of a rivalry. I'm sure it'd be great to have that kind of run back. I know I'd watch it. I'd check it out. But if she chose to go after Bianca Belair, I mean, that one's ripe for the telling as well. You know, the two of those large, strong women could just go at it, and I'm sure put on an absolute banger of a match. But we'll see who the champions are when we get there. Another strong showing in the match obviously came from the number 2 entrant, which was Liv Morgan. She survived all the way until the final 3. I believe she was the last one. Yeah, she was the last one. I think it was Asuka that was eliminated, and then Liv Morgan was eliminated, and Ripley won. So that was really cool. Good match. I give it 2 titles. I say again, watch it if you got nothing else to do, because they're just definitely wasn't as many kind of surprises and such as I expected, and that goes for both matches. I really thought that there were going to be a lot more legends or returns, and ultimately it came down to a handful between both matches combined. So then we had a little music segment by this dude named Hardy. Sounds like he's a country rock artist. I don't really know who he is, and I didn't care for it. I'm not going to rank it. If you like Hardy, hey, good for you. Go ahead, check it out. It's an added bonus, but he certainly wasn't my cup of tea, as they say. And that led us to the main event, which was the champ, Roman Reigns, taking on Kevin Owens. And that was a darn good match, I'll tell you that. The match itself was a very typical Roman Reigns match. I mean, he's so good. He's so over. It's insane, the pop that the guy gets from the crowd. And it's something that I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. You know, you hate the guy because he was always kind of appointed to be the man since the time he came up from NXT, but I mean, he's really grown into, especially the character that he is now. He is so good as this like heel faction leader. And so he got the win over Kevin Owens. There weren't any super memorable spots within the match itself. It was a pretty typical Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match. They've done it a few times now. There were a few near falls and things like that, but other than that, that's really all the match was. But the thing that gives this 3 titles instead of 2, and I was very close to the 2 titles, especially when the match ended, was the post-match. So the post-match was such a huge highlight. They, being the Bloodline, beat down, Kevin Owens with super kicks and chairs, and they handcuffed him to the rope and all that kind of stuff. And it was insane. And, the amount of beatings, or how much they beat this man. I mean, obviously they don't do the bleeding, so they didn't do anything like that, but it still really came across effectively. I mean, I think the guy ended up, just between the Usos, ended up eating like 50 super kicks while he was, tied to the ropes or handcuffed to the ropes. So, I mean, it looked awesome. It looked brutal. And then you had the big moment where Roman was going to hit Owens with the chair. Sammy could not stand it any longer. He had to step in. He had to do something. So he said, basically, this is, it's over. Owens has nothing left. And then you started to see the disrespect in the eyes of the tribal chief. You had Roman Reigns basically staring at him and telling him he's still part of the family, so I don't understand what you're doing, yada yada. And it got to a point where Roman finally figured out, like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give the chair to Sammy. And here is the big moral decision. whether or not he's going to beat on his friend Kevin Owens, or he's going to side with him and go against everything that he's worked for over the few months. And it was absolutely incredible. So after some tense moments, Roman finally turned his back enough and kind of got in between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Sami laid into Roman with that chair and just dropped him. And it was a shock because he didn't want to do it. The facials are, Sami Zayn is on another level. Like, if they went ahead and made him champion at some point, I would be all for it. He is incredible with how good he is. And you know, he laid into Roman, and then he just kind of stopped. And, you know, the rest of the bloodline was in shock. And then, obviously, everybody started beating on Sami, with the exception of Jey Uso. It was incredible. So, the guy that defended Sami and was so firmly against Sami for so long, basically, he didn't save him. You know, it's hard to tell exactly where this is going, but you know, he didn't step in and save Sami, but he would not beat any further. He didn't even touch Zayn, I don't believe. He exited the ring even when the rest of the bloodline was yelling at him and all that kind of stuff, and he was gone. He was done. He walked all the way to the back. So now you have. Oh, here's our first hit. Look at this. Commemorative logo patch. Natalya. So is it a manufactured? You now own a commemorative superstar logo patch. 20 of 50. Natalya. Well, it's kind of cool, even though it's not worn or anything like that, I guess, since there's no little fine print. But that's one of our 2 hits. Still waiting on the other 2 show up. And, you know, back to the match. So it's interesting, you know, the rest of the bloodline, they ended up leaving Sami Zayn. Obviously, Kevin Owens never recovered, just laying in the ring. And Jey had already walked to the back, and the rest of the bloodline was headed towards the back, and it was just hard to tell what the next move is. It's pretty awesome. It's actually kind of got me guessing a little bit. Like, I don't think that Jey's going to turn on the family. I think it's just something that he's confused over right now. But hey, it very well could be. Maybe he'll end up in a 3-on-3 situation where you got Jey and Sami and KO taking on Reigns and Jimmy and Solo. And that could work, but obviously then you'd have to work storyline-wise to get the Usos back together, because you're not going to keep them apart for, you know, forever. Or at least I wouldn't think so. And that's really it. That was the end of the show. It closed on those guys, and overall, I think it was a good show. There's obviously positives and negatives, as I kind of tried to document here. It ended up going about 4 hours, so one of the longer pay-per-views that they've done in a while. Hey, there's the autograph, Nikki Cross. That's cool. Out of 199, number 48. That's cool. On-card auto, too. Really cool. You just get a little penny sleeve to that. And we'll polish off the rest of these packs here. But excellent show. I wanted to do something a little bit different when it came to the review. And rather than just do a review of each individual match and then a review of the overall show, I do kind of want to do a similar formula to that, but I was thinking do the individual matches as I've done already and kind of laid out to you, and then average those matches together, and then basically add or subtract from the rest of the nonsense that kind of went on, whether it's the music segment or Pat McAfee returning. So the average ended up being about a 2.6. As I said, I don't do halves or anything like that, so I then looked at the rest of the show just to see if there was anything to warrant the 3 or to warrant bringing it down to a 2. Obviously, the Hardy music segment for me was a big knock. It's just not something that I'm into. I prefer to just kind of watch my wrestling unless it is somebody that I listen to, but they don't always have metal and stuff like that, which is, you know, my kind of music. And, but I think Pat McAfee, at least to me, Pat McAfee's come back, and hopefully he's back now until next season of college football. But that was a big enough positive to get me to a 3 on this show. I'd say the entire show is 3 titles above average. Definitely check it out. Play it in the background while you're sorting through cards and ripping packs. It's definitely worth it. There's definitely been a lot worse Rumbles in the past. And this card was good. It was just a lengthy one because obviously you have both Rumble matches. And it had something for everybody. And I'm super excited, as I hope all of you are, to see where everything is going as we move forward. But let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the pay-per-view, your thoughts on where things are going. I would certainly love to hear from you. As for the cards, if you want to let me know what your favorite pull was, that'd be awesome too. I'd love to see your thoughts on that one, or if this is a set that you pick up. It's definitely cool to get a Nikki Cross on card auto. That's definitely a plus. The commemorative patch, I mean, you could take or leave. It's kind of similar to the blaster boxes where they give you one of those in every blaster. But I'm hoping to be able to build the set now that I have hobby box and open some retail. And that's just my thing. Like I've said numerous times before, put the sets together. It's very calming for my obsessive tendencies and such. So, but hey, we're on the road to WrestleMania, and couldn't be more excited to see where everything is going and who Reigns is actually going to wrestle, if it's going to be Cody or if he's going to end up losing the title sometime before that. Maybe The Rock comes back. I wouldn't put all my money on that because dude is busy. And down to the last pack. Let's see if we can get a little LPM, a little last pack magic. We have both of our guaranteed hits, so unlikely that we're going to see a ton come out of this guy, but let's see. Carmella. We got Jax and Baszler, both members of the Women's Rumble, or participants, I should say. There's your winner. The old blonde hairstyle she had. Frankie Monet. Scarlett. There's Ember Moon. And finishing on Baszler and Jax. So another fun ZAKdown opening. The little guys brought me some good luck here in getting a real sweet auto. Numbered to 199. And this Natalia, I guess, manufactured a commemorative auto, 20 of 50. But with that said, if you like what you've seen, I'd love for you to go down below and hang out with us further. Hit that little subscribe button. Check out some more ZAKdown videos. If you want to drop me a like, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, you want to see more reviews like this, I'd love to bring you more for sure. And like I said, leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite moment was from the Rumble. If you didn't get to watch the Rumble, then check this out afterwards. Let me know what you think of my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.